Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is the O-MB200. Well guys, I have unfortunate news. We lost another reflector. These things seem to all give up about the same time. So we're going to remove this one too, since it's the last one besides this bad boy on the fender. Go figure, this one is going to spin right off. Keep that. Oh! We'll keep that souvenir. Might have a new scratch on it. Well, it looks like I just went ahead and created myself another problem. Look how unsightly this bracket is now. See if we can't tune that up a little. Hey, Big Hurt. Well, I guess we can act like we didn't know that was going to happen. I really like the look of this bike without the fenders. Another thing I knocked out at the same time, I welded a 1-inch piece of pipe up under the back of the seat because this mini bike doesn't have a handle back there. And when you go to move it around, you have a tendency to grab the back of the seat and not this dinky little bracket that they have up underneath. So, cold weather and so forth, eventually you keep lifting here, you're gonna break it. Now that we have a firm handle on things, we can get down to the main event. And today, that's going to be installing a high performance torque converter from my friends at OMBwarehouse.com and Greg Oak Garage. The big kahuna in this system is this right here. This is a steel flat mount torque converter plate. It can be mounted other ways too, but this is what we're looking for. In comparison to a stock torque converter, well, an aftermarket stock torque converter, you can see there's a bit of a difference. From center to center, we're longer. This can be set up for a 7-inch pulley or a 6-inch pulley. For the 6-inch pulley, we're going to run Comet 203592A. This is just an aftermarket pulley, and it currently has a red spring and a 10-2 sprocket. All of this is on a keyed 5/8 shaft with bearings housed in both ends and lock collars, split collars I should say, holding it on from both sides. The advantage to that, well, you're not torquing a bolt in this way and sandwiching everything together. You're just bringing it to where it's together and then tightening it where it's at. You're not adding extra wear, tension, torque, whatever, on the bearings that are inside. So this is going to spin a whole lot smoother. Even more so when that end isn't sitting on the plywood. On the back side of this thing, I already modified it. This is all steel, including these supports right here and here for wheel clearance. On a prior installation, I cut one of these off and replaced it. Well, I should actually say I ground it back for my clearance, and then I added a small piece of steel on each side and welded it. So now we have that little bit of extra if we need it. Also on my bench from my buddies over at O-MB Warehouse is another 6-inch pulley. However, this one is loaded with the Comet yellow spring. So for testing purposes, we'll put that aside, as well as this 9-tooth sprocket. We're going to be running 1050 for the stock setup. The reason I'm doing that, this would be the closest thing to, one of these right out of the box. And the 50 is the stock sprocket that came on this mini bike. So, ground zero. We're also going to be using Torkzilla Super 30 Series driver. This is now the second one that I own. I love these. They're very smooth and they give you all the performance you're going to need. I got some new hardware, an upgraded bolt to hold old Torkzilla on there, key, and we're going to be running top of the line EK motorcycle chain. This stuff is no joke. Won't you look at that, eh? Our first step is going to be mounting the plate with the pulley onto our side cover, just like any other torque converter installation. Upon installing this plate, I randomly just barely clear this header. I mean, I am just, there you go, you can kind of see it. You can maybe, I don't know, maybe it is touching on the back corner there. Anyways, that's a very annoying thing. It's like, well, do I clearance the header? But what if I change the exhaust? Alright, I'm going to take the plate off. I'm going to make a mark right where this is. And I'll make a little clearance just on the back side. I'm not going to go cutting a notch in this. I don't need to. So, it'll just be a little, you know, bing schwanger back there. I just used a Dremel to make my clearance. Before I install it, I'm just going to kiss it with the good stuff. Here we are, all tightened up, and we are no longer anywhere near the header. Next, we're going to be putting on that EK chain. This is where the importance in a few things comes into play. On the chain itself, we're going to cut it to fit the 10-tooth sprocket first. That way, we know 100% with our adjustment and our axle that we'll be able to get that 9-tooth afterwards and still have adjustment for tension. The other thing we did is lifted the motor and used a flat mount plate which extends back further so that we can clear the frame back here nice and clean, or so I hope. Over at the workbench again, I'm just cutting my appropriate length of chain, and I'll see you back over at the mini bike. With the master link attached, I'm now going to loosen my axle and adjust back for tension. Alright, we're all tightened up. Looking straight. That shadow kind of wants to throw me off up there, but wham bam blah jam, son. I have my chain with just enough slack that everything is super smooth. That ain't no factory job, guys. The next thing we're going to need is our Torkzilla, our Comet belt, and our hardware. We're also going to need a spacer so that we can align Torkzilla with our 6-inch pulley. Alright. That looks just about perfect right there. Now, I just have to install my belt, my key, my driver, and my bolt. When I tighten these on, I use a glove. I hold the driver and tighten it with a wrench by hand. That way, I know how much torque is on that bolt. Well, let's see how it rolls. Feels pretty good. I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's going to be test it out. I just took it to the bottom of the driveway, back up, just to make sure that I had everything tight enough down here and nothing was going to knock loose. I also made an adjustment on the brakes. I actually had to loosen them up a little because I pulled the axle back. So I'm going to go hitch on a GoPro and we'll take it out. For what it's worth, it's an Arctic tundra out there, guys, but we'll have some fun anyway. All right, let's warm this thing up. Very fast, you'll see why. A little icy. Woo! That was awesome. Well, all right. That wasn't too bad for the first time out. I reviewed the footage, and it looked like I just hit 48 miles an hour when I backed out. I wasn't going for a top speed on this, and I wasn't even sure if I had the GPS turned on, so we lucked out. Overall, this is a very comfortable mini bike for me. It has a low seat height, but when you sit back in the saddle and you reach your feet out, your leg isn't all cramped up. It also has a nice level grip to these Pro Taper handlebars. The only thing I want to change is the foot peg length. I'd like to see another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. That's all I need. I was comfortable out there because I know right where old Torkzilla was, but it's nice to have a little distance sometimes too. If I hadn't already welded these reinforcements on, I would just cut this tube in half, extend it, and weld everything back in place. But what's done is done. These are a very simple design. The pin just has to go through and they move up and down. These don't even have a spring involved. So if we were to make something, it just has to have a tab along the bottom that goes, beyond this here to somewhere right around there, right? So if we make something with a big tab like that, right, that way it can fold up and then lock down, we should be able to put a lot more force on them than these pee-wee dinky doos. And that is exactly what we're going to get after next. Because as always, it's a work in progress. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. Now catch you on the next one.